All right, let's go ahead and get started here. I've actually turned on talking aloud for everybody that's on this webinar since we've got about 10 people, it looks like. So feel free to interrupt me at any time as I'm going through, just ask questions. So we'll make sure that we personalize things for you specifically that's there. So today's topic is really around using SmartSuite to manage projects. There's 4 types of projects that will show that are really the main types of projects that we see customers using SmartSuite to manage. From a single project, a pretty simple, straightforward, managing multiple projects, whether it's internal projects or as part of a professional services organization. Then more program management, really setting up a PMO within your organization to manage projects, and then collecting information around client engagements to really track projects at a high level, but maybe not down to the specific task, but really more from rates and contracts, a type of structured billing types of things that are there. So I'm going to switch. Oops. I'm going to try to. There we go. I'm going to switch over to SmartSuite here. So this is the opening page of SmartSuite when you first log in. We call this a workspace. Inside of a workspace, you'll see all of the different solutions that you have access to as an individual. A solution to us is any process or project that you're using SmartSuite to manage. And we really break the homepage into a couple different sections. The section under My Workspace is showing everything that you have access to. And then you have the ability to click on this star here to add to favorites, to move things up to the top of the screen that you use most often inside of SmartSuite. Inside of this area, you have the ability to drag and drop and to move these and arrange them in the order that you want. The items in the My Workspace have been set to be ordered alphabetically to allow you to more quickly find information. If you have a large number of solutions in your workspace, you can use the search feature here. So maybe I just want to look for project and it will filter down the information that's on the page for you. To get started here, we're going to talk about a single project. But before I do that, I want to show you how you can add your own templates or how you can start with a template the way I have. So you can click Add New Solution if you're or a creator in your account. Start with Template. And this brings up our full template library. There's about 200 best-in-class templates across pretty much every major process in an organization. It also includes industry-specific types of templates and then more other workflows that are really minor types of processes. Maybe they're not a mega process in your organization or a major process that's related here. So for today, we're going to really focus on project management. So I'll click on project management, and this gives you the full outline of all the templates that you have. You'll notice that some of these say installed. That's just an indication to you that this template has already been installed into your workspace, maybe by another person, but it's already there. You can still use this template again, but it's just notifying you just in case you weren't aware of that's there. Each of these templates have been built with industry experts, in this particular case around project management, to solve a particular use case or need. It's not just a collection of fields on a form. There's a lot more thought that actually goes into that. And you can see all the different types of templates that are available here. For some of you that are more professional services related, you can click on the professional services template link here. You'll see many of the same templates, but there's a few more things that are specific maybe to a professional services organization. If you're not sure if you want to use a particular template, you can just click Learn More. We'll take you right in, tell you about the template, but at the same time, we'll display a live version of this template right on the page for you to play with. You can click around, see the base information here. And then if you want to use it, just click Use Template. And in about 3 seconds, it loads this template with demo data into your specific workspace. So I've already done that for the templates we're going to talk about today. So I'll start with single project. A single project is just what the name implies. It's a way, typically, if you have just one simple project that you need to manage inside of an organization, it allows you to keep track of just that project. So I'm going to click into the Alon project here. And in this case, the first thing I'm doing is I'm just showing an overview of the project and collecting information for this particular project that I have. And I just want to set the ground rules with a few things, and then we'll drill into detail that are here. So this name, single project, is what we call a solution. The second level down below, we call these apps. And an app is just a collection of fields for information that you want to collect. So in this case, we're tracking things around tasks and milestones, deliverables, status reports, and staffing. That's here. To add a new app, I can just click here, which we'll do in a minute. and I could add a new app, give it a name, select the fields that I want to have in place. You can create connections between these different items. So maybe on the project overview, I want to see a link back to all the milestones, another link to deliverables, another link to status reports, maybe who is staff on the project. So if I click into this record outline, you'll see just that at the bottom of the page where I can click and say, here's a link back to the task app and all the tasks, and I can show the current status. We'll do that in a minute. I can link back to the milestones. I could link back to the deliverables and so on in the status report. All of the information on this page is completely customizable by you once you download a template. If you wanted to change the order of this particular field, you just drag it to the location that makes sense for you and drop it. It then changes the information on this form for everyone that's actually seeing it. You can also add sections like we've done here. We've added just a general section for project information, and we've grouped these base fields in that section. But we've added other sections down below for other field types. And for each of these sections, you can determine if you want that section to be collapsed or open by default. So this is pretty common structure that we see across our customers, is that they have the base information at the top in a section, and then more detailed information that might not be accessed every time in sections. So they just open those as needed to pull the information in. I'm going to click into project tasks to just show some of the concepts that are available. So we'll click into the detail first here. So this here is called a view. I've actually saved this view and named it project timeline by phase. I've selected the fields that I would like to be displayed in this view. If you want to change the order of the fields, maybe move deliverables here, you notice that as I change this, it actually changes the information in the view in real time that's there. I could take away a field and not show a particular field that's there. I could add it back. So this just allows you to select any of the fields that you've already created inside of this project task app that's there. I can also determine how I want to sort the information. So every field that's in that app, I have the ability to select that field and determine the sort order. I could filter information on here where I would want to say, maybe I'm only looking for tasks that are overdue or tasks that are blocked in a particular way. I can group information in this view. In this case, grouped all of the tasks that are here by phase. I could add as many groupings as I want. I think it's 7 or 8 is the limit that we allow you to cascade down. That's there. You could use Spotlight to actually highlight particular rows or fields of information that match your criteria, and you can pick the color that you want the background shading to happen for that element that's there. And then you can change things like row size, or I can customize the report to maybe fit the content that I have, or you could just select auto and we'll do that automatically for you. So those are some of the basics on what we call the toolbar and how you manipulate the information that's on this page. I'm going to click in here to the record. So in this case, you can see how we've set up a particular task. A task typically has name, a description, a due date, a status, and typically an assignment. Who am I assigning this task to? So if maybe in this case, I'll assign this task to myself that's here. You can also have subtasks, which we have a checklist field type that you can add as many subtasks as you want. We auto track the status of those. You can see this line across the top. So as I mark things as complete, the status will change in real time. You can be very informal with subtasks in that I could just say, this is the task and keep it at that. Or you could take it a level further where I could go in and actually give this a due date, and I could actually assign this to somebody, update this. Now it's a little more formal, and it just notified myself that as of today, this particular subtask is due. And when I view that in my work panel, all of the tasks assigned to me will show up. And again, I'll show that to you in just a minute. For tasks, it's pretty common that people to display this in different formats. We're showing this in a 2-column format, but if that's not the way that you would like to see it, you could change the information to make it feel a little simpler in a single column and just stack everything right on top of each other. Or one of my favorites is really the 3-column. So the 3-column allows you to take the small fields and put them in the right, and really focus on the description, the subtask, maybe any of the linkages that we have here in this particular case. So this is just a personal preference that you can set as the creator. But when you set this, it does set this for everybody that's viewing this particular record of information in your account. Over here, you notice if I hover over this name, we call this a saved view, it will tell me that the person that created the view, and in this case, it's a public view, meaning everybody can see this. If I click on this, it will bring up the view selector. So this will show me a list of all of the saved views that have been set up already. So maybe I want to see a different view that shows maybe task by owner. Click again, maybe task by status. In this case, it's moving the task into a Kanban view where I can just move the information on the board around to change the status automatically by moving the elements that are there. To add a new view, I just hover over the plus sign. These are all the different view types that are available inside of SmartSuite, from card, Kanban, calendar, time. If you have added an address field anywhere, we can auto map that as a Google map. I think we have 11 different chart types you can pick from. Obviously you have dashboards, and then I'll show you the concept of creating forms that allow people to add content that are outside of SmartSuite. It's a lot of information to set the groundwork for a lot of things that we're going to talk about here now, so we won't have to go into quite so much detail. So I'm going to flip over to the next item, which is just milestones. This milestones under a single project just allows you to really track big dates that specific progress needs to be made inside of the project. This is very optional. I would say 60 to 70% of our clients we see using milestones. Some don't worry about that. They just focus on the due dates of the task, and that's good enough. Deliverables is just a way for you to track all the deliverables maybe that are going to be created for a project and the current status of those. And in this case, I'm showing this as a card view. If I click into the deliverable, I could add as much information as I want on the types of fields, the information that I need to collect for this deliverable. If I needed to add a new field that's not here, I could just click right here to add new field. And this brings up a list of all of our field types that are available. You can click at the bottom to see, if you're a newbie, to see the full list that's here. We have 44 different field types that can be selected from. These are the first list that you see are the pretty basics, from text and text areas, single select, multiple select, dates, numbers, phone numbers, emails, those types of things. What's a little unique about SmartSuite is that we do data validation on all these field types. So the email has to be in a valid format, the phone number in a valid format, the address, and so on. The thought process there is we're helping you ensure the quality of your data as people are actually inputting the data for you. We have more collaboration type fields where you can rate things, vote on things across your team. You could add tags, maybe a customer tag. You can link to a person's social network. More project specifics that we're talking about today, which are you're assigning things to people in your workspace that have a due date, maybe has a duration, you're tracking a % complete, you want to have a status, maybe use a checklist for subtask, and maybe you want to track time by task, by person that's in there. And then more advanced things where I have accounts, roll-ups, lookups, formulas, as simple as complex. A formula could be add this plus this, or it could be a series of paragraphs with nested if statements that are there. So to add a field, if I wanted to add a field here, I could say I want to add a single select field. It just says, John, what do you want the values to be? I could go into the values and I could pick a color for each value. And I can also determine how I want to display that. What's unique about SmartSuite is that for almost all field types, we give you 3 to 4 display options for the data. In this case, I'm looking at a single select that has a gray background with a color dot. I could change this to be a full color background. I could change this to actually select an image from our icon from our library. So maybe I wanted to use a 30% complete image and I wanted to change the color of that to red that's there. So now this will display an image next to the value that's there. Or in some cases, maybe you just want to use just text and that's it. So we give you in pretty much every field type the ability to do that. And I'm not going to save that to mess this up here. The next item on a single project typically is status reports. So it allows you to go in, I'll change this to a grid view, and I could see a list of all the status reports. And every week, maybe I'm doing a status report for a client, I can track the information related to that particular status report. And it's pretty common that people add these checklists for risk and issues to keep track of where they're at with anything that comes up in the status report that needs to be addressed. And then it's pretty typical that you summarize things in a stoplight status. So maybe you're saying this particular status report is yellow, meaning it has issues, but we're managing those. What you want to see is green, or get it back to green. But if you see red in some of the reports, it's an indicator that, hey, I need to follow up with something pretty immediately for that. And then on the staffing side, this is just a way for you to keep track of the project team. And we just threw in some demos here, but these are just the contact information for the people on the team that you may need to get in contact with, whether they're internal or external to your specific workspace that you have. So that's the base concept for a single project. I'm going to show you the way, if you wanted to add a new app, maybe to track, let's say like stand-up meetings, which is pretty common. So maybe I could just say I have a daily meeting with the team and I want to, for the first time, add the fields and create the form that's there. We give you a few default fields that you can use or not use that are here. And then inside of this particular grid view, you can also add new fields right from here. So maybe I wanted to add a text area field where I would track just the stand-up notes that's here by each person. So I could just call it notes and say I want to add this. Some of these that are already set up, I'll just show you the assign to field, maybe be some outcomes of some things that you need to assign to somebody. You'll notice here that we give you multiple display options of how you want to maybe display the content in this field. In this case, 2 different variations. We give you a default status. If I wanted to change the status, I could change the name or any of the statuses, and I could pick which status means complete for us to do some calculations in the background. So I won't take the time to build it out, but it's very simple for you to actually add new apps across the top. And if you build something, you don't like it, you can just drop down this menu, say I want to delete this particular one, and I can delete it. Pretty simple so far. I'll take you into next, we'll talk about project management, which project management is all about managing multiple projects at the same time. So in the single project was just one project. Now just think of this as I have a whole series of projects that are ongoing, and each of those projects has its own tasks, milestones, deliverables, status reports, and staffing. And I've linked all of that information back to the project. So if I click into the SmartSuite for marketing, here's the actual form with all the same similar information that you saw for a single project. And now you'll start to see linkages back to open tasks that are under place, milestones, deliverables that are specific to just this project. So if I click into the next project, I'll see the same structure of information, but it will be pulling different information on the task, the milestones, the deliverables, the current state of that project that's there. So don't need to go into all of these since we talked about tasks, milestones, and deliverables. What's more common that we begin to see for the first time when you're managing multiple projects is change request. This is a way for you to just document and manage changes to the scope and projects as they're happening, whether that be internal need or more specifically, this happens with client projects. In this case, I'm just viewing it in a Kanban view. And I can see that I can come here and move things from one column to the next in here to change the status in real time. I can drill in and see the details of the actual change request that's been submitted, either by a member of your team adding this, or the customer could also request this specifically. And it's pretty common that organizations set up what we call a form view in this case. And a form allows me just to set up a form that I can then share via a link or embed on my website that allows somebody to fill out information, a person that might not have access to SmartSuite, and they can, in this case, fill out a change request for a project and submit it. And when they add the detail here, it automatically goes into your change request solution and shows you that this has just been submitted for you to review. It's very easy to set up fields that are on this form. So I'm going to remove a couple that are here, but if I wanted to add like the request type, I just click on it. Maybe I wanted to add a justification and additional notes. You see those just come on the form. I can move the information anywhere on the form that I want and drop it. It will then save that information for me. And when I have it where I want, I can click share. And there's 2 ways to share this. I could send this link to somebody and say, hey, can you fill out the project change request for me? And if you do that, I'm just going to click here to show you what they'll see. They'll just see a version of this form that they can access via their web browser or mobile device and complete each of the fields of information. When they click submit, it will automatically copy the information back into your change request solution. The second option is you can actually embed this form inside of any web page that you have. So maybe you just have a website, and inside the website you're saying change request. Every time they fill it out, again, it just pulls the data directly back into your project. So we'll go back into the active projects that's here. Actually, let's just add one and I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to call this John Tests. I'm not going to add any details here. I'm just going to click submit. It lets the user know that it's been submitted. And if I come back into my active change request, you'll see that John request has been added. I could click into this record and start filling out the rest of the information that's here for the particular request. And then the only thing different here is the staffing listing allows you to track staff back to each particular project. So one particular person could be assigned to multiple projects, or you can also see the history of projects that staff member has actually worked on as well. Another thing that's pretty common that we want to show is in this first column that's here, it shows a list of comments where I could really start a conversation. So if I need to have a conversation about something that's happening in this record, I can do it in two ways. I could click into the record and I could actually open comments, and I could have a conversation right here where I could say, I need somebody to do XYZ for me. I could use rich text, bold, italics, underline, and strikeout. I can attach documents, videos, anything in the conversation that I need to have. And now anybody that views this record can come in here and actually see this comment and have this conversation and reply back to it. They could use maybe emojis to just confirm something that I've posted here. Or I could do something a little more formal, or I could come in and I could actually @mention somebody here. So I'm going to @mention Tara. And when I use an @mention in a conversation, the system's smart enough to know, okay, do you actually want to assign this as a task to Tara, or are you just having a conversation? So if I say, yeah, I want to assign it to Tara, and now I hit send, Tara was just notified. And now you can see that when anybody else comes in to look at this, it says they can view it, but it shows that this is assigned to Tara, and only Tara or the person that initiated the request can mark it as resolved. It's here. People can reply to it and you can have a conversation, but only the person it's assigned to, or the person that did it, could mark it as resolved. So I'll go ahead and mark that as resolved. It now goes away from the open comments, but it shows back up if I want to see a list of kind of the history of all the comments that have taken place inside of this. The other thing that is used quite often inside of a record is you just need to see the history of the changes that have been made inside of the record. So I could see the changes, every change that's been made with the date and the time of the change for every field that you've added to any of the records that are here. Okay. I'll pause for a second since everybody, we've turned on your mic for you. Any questions up until this point that I can help? Okay. I will jump over to program management very briefly. Program management is really meant if you're setting up a PMO in your organization. This is pretty typical on how we see our clients set up the PMO. Typically, you have a list of programs that are taking place inside of the organization, and you've linked projects back to these different programs that are there. So you can see things at a glance for the whole program, not just the individual projects that are there. So if I click into an actual program, I can see the details and I could see the projects. In this case, there's 5 or 6 projects that are linked back to the program with the status of each of the items that are here. I can actually control how I view this information for this linked record that's linking back to projects. I can just go into the action menu, say modify field settings. And here you'll see we have different display formats, from a compact display, which we'll turn on first, which just keeps things very simple for you. Maybe I just want a name, and I just want maybe a few fields that I can select to be shown on the side. So it just makes it very compact that's there. I could take it one step further where I don't have to have any fields and I just show the name that's there. I could do a simplified view that is similar to this one where it just has the name, but just below it shows you the fields and you hover over each field to see the field name that's there. Or you can do more of the traditional where if you really want the information to stand out, I could do the extended display and we'll bring in the actual field values and the color for whatever you select to be here. So for any linked record field type, you have the ability to select the style of the information that's actually displayed here. And everything else in the PMO works the same as we've talked about with the prior 2 solutions, with projects, tasks, reports, deliverables, and staffing, just linking back. It's just a way to group the information inside of the program. And lastly, I'll jump into client engagements. Client engagements is something that we're finding quite a number of professional services firms are beginning to use that really just tracks all of the engagements that they have with their current clients. In most cases, a client can have multiple engagements that are taking place. And it's a way for you to then click into a client, see the status of not just all the current engagements, but even the prior engagements that have happened. And in this particular case, it's showing links back to the contracts that you've signed, maybe the master services agreement, as well as the individual engagement agreements that you've signed, along with your rate cards, and then tracking change requests against that. So if I go into a particular engagement, in this case, maybe I want to view all of my engagements on a Kanban board. I click on mobile app. I'm seeing this particular project underway, but in this case, I'm tracking the contract. If I want to see the contract, I just click, takes me right into the contract record, or I could see the actual contract. I could also see and manage the invoicing process that's taking place. So I could see if things have been sent or not sent, and you could use our Zapier connector to actually link into QuickBooks or your accounting system if you want, and change the status to paid, unpaid automatically for you if you wanted to at that point as well. Here's just the contracts module. A lot of people like to view this kind of in a card view where it just shows all of your contracts that are here. I failed to mention that if you show things in a card view, the system is smart enough to know that if you've added an attachment field, it will ask you, would you like to actually show the attachment as a cover image? So I could turn that on and off and show the images that are here as well if I needed to. And then the other piece that's unique about client engagements is it gives you the ability to track kind of your rate cards. You could do this by person, or you could do this by role, or you could do this by engagement. But when you link an engagement, you can link back to a rate card or a series of rate cards that are here that kind of shows the negotiated rate for that. And what a lot of people like to do is actually include the rate card information under the client information. So if I include the rate cards, oh, they're already here. We can show that, but you can also calculate and show the average rate by project. Let's go. Maybe I look at all engagement by status. Yep, I didn't have it set up here, but it can auto calculate the rate by engagement or by client. So you could very quickly run through your list and just see the average billing rate by client. All right. The only thing that I really haven't focused on, really there's two things, are how you can set permissions and how you can perform automation. So I'll just quickly show that under project management. You click on the name of the solution at the top. If you've downloaded a template, every template that we have includes demo data, so you can play with it immediately. If you want to remove that data, you just say delete, and it will remove all the data that's in this template for you across all of these different apps at one time, and just make a clean start for you to get started if you want. Or you could say keep it and keep the data and just write over it. I did fail to mention that you can also, if you needed to delete things, I can just click on the icon or on the check marks here, and down below we'll pull up a bulk editing capability, and I could just say delete records right here, and it would delete all of the 3 selected records that I have above as well. So back here, the first one, there's a few things I failed to mention. If you want to change the color of a solution, this is where you can do it. You just pop it down, change the color in real time, find what you like. You can also change the icon that's displayed right here and on the home page by doing that. A solution guide is a way for you to communicate back to your team members how to actually use this particular solution. So we give you a starting point with an overview of what's in the template, but you can modify all this by just clicking here and say edit description, and you can add images, videos, whatever you need to that's in here. This is also a way that we can communicate to your team members who are the actual solution managers who can actually go in and change the structure of this solution. So whoever you've given permission to do that will show up here. And if somebody needs to contact Peter, they could just click on his phone number or email address to email a request to them. Go back to the menu, go to permissions. There's a few types of permissions that you can set here. The first is I could say everybody in the account has full access to everything that we've just looked at. I could narrow this down and say, I only want these specific teams to have access. And maybe it's a project team that you've set up with these 5 members, those types. Or you could go to the traditional route with the advanced permissions, where I could go into each person or group and I could say, this is the level of access that I want them to have. So maybe I want Pete to have full access, which means he can add and delete, modify data that's in here. But maybe for Billy, I say I want her to only have editor access, which means that she can create and edit her own content, but only view other content that's here. Add her, and maybe I go into Stoigen, and I want Stoigen to just be a contributor, which means he can create and edit content that he's been assigned to, but he can only view other content that's there. Or I could just set somebody as a viewer, meaning they have access, but they can just view content and not edit that's there. So I can be as simple or as complex as I want to be at the solution level for permissions, but I can also take it a step further in that I can grant permissions at the solution level, but I can override those permissions at any application level. So I could come in here to the app permissions, and by default, this is inheriting its permission from what I just said at the solution level. But maybe I would say, okay, in this particular case, I don't want Peter to have access to everything. So I could click on Peter and Stoigen, and maybe I could say I only want them to be able to view task information, or maybe they can only create and edit content that they've been assigned, and that's it. They can view other things, but they can't edit tasks that aren't assigned to them, which is pretty typical. So you can get, again, as simple or complex as you would like to get on the permissions at that level. And then the last item here that I just wanted to show relates to integration that's here. There's 3 ways to integrate with SmartSuite. We have built-in automations, which I'm going to show. We have a connector with Zapier that gives you access to about 4,000 other products that you could directly integrate with. And then we have a robust API if you need to write your own custom code. I'm going to just say I want to set up an integration that's here, or excuse me, I just want to set up an automation. And I'll create my first automation. We just have a very simple page that has 2 options right now for what we call a trigger. So I could say each time a record is updated, I want to perform this particular action. And then it allows you to select the application. So maybe each time a task, in this case, I would say, is created or updated, then I could say, what do I want to happen here? So I can update a value in a record. Maybe I could create a new record in this same app or in another app, or even in another app that's in a different solution. It's pretty common that maybe I want to send a notification via Twilio. Maybe I just want to send a notification via email. We have things that we're working on right now that will be released in the next couple of weeks for our Slack connector is just getting approved by Slack. So maybe I want to send a notification in a Slack channel. I want to send a notification through Google Mail. I want to maybe update a calendar, those types of things. So we just give you a very simple interface for you to come in and enter the data that makes sense to actually set up the automation. And I'm not going to go through that in this particular case, or to set this up, but it's pretty common inside of project management to use notifications, and you're just notifying people when certain things take place, or if dates are past due when things need to be done. If you have any further questions on automations, please reach out to us. We can send you some videos on how to set up automations, and we have a number of webinars that we have there as well. All right, we went through quite a bit of information today. I just want to check in. Is there any questions that I could help answer for anybody that we didn't go through today?
Hey, John, it's Avi. How are you?
Great.
Been enjoying watching the demo. Quick question. Is it possible to email from within a task, or is email right now through automation?
When you say within a task, help me understand what you mean by that.
So when you open a record, and you go to the chat functionality, that's only internal chat, right? There's no email option there.
Correct. That is correct. Yeah, this is basically like a Slack channel that's built in for each task. So you see the context of the communication in regards to that particular task that's there. What I did fail to do is I forgot to show you my work, which each time that you're assigned a task, it will actually show up in your My Work panel. I just don't have anything here assigned to me. So as a user logs in, and if they're working across multiple projects, they can log in and see everything that's overdue, due today, this week, this month, or greater, and it will give them the ability to manage all of that from one place. And then they can click on Close Task, and let me just open this back up. They can see everything that's been closed in that same time frame. So here I just open that back up so you can see I have one task that's overdue. I could manage it right from here, change the priority and such, or I can click and it will take me directly into that specific task, and I could update it, say that maybe I change the status to in process that's here.
Got it. Very helpful.
Okay. Any other questions I could help with? All right, quiet group today. Hopefully everything made sense. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us through the website. If you're in the product or on the website, you can always click on the bottom right and start a conversation. This opens up our help panel. You can start a direct conversation with us by sending us a message. If you have questions about topics, you can just click right here for help articles. It will bring up our collection of articles. Maybe you're interested in getting started and welcome to SmartSuite. You can just view all of this information while you're actually still in the application that's here without needing to get out. And then if you are interested in our product roadmap, you can click right here on our product roadmap and see everything that we're working on that's in process, planned, or recent things that have been complete. And if you would want to provide input into features, you could click here and see a list of all of the ideas that people have submitted. You can actually see those by status of if we're working on them or not. You can click into one and see the details and add your own comments and vote. And this is a way that we help stay up to date on customer requests and notify you back on things that we've done. And if you vote or comment on something, we will auto notify you when the status of any of these changes. So you'll know that it's moved into planning or it's in process or it's been complete. And that's it for today's webinar. We appreciate your time, and please get in touch if you have any questions.